Hi, I'm Sam Witte, and this is my Chapter 8 review summary, review board, video board, whatever you want to call it. This week's topic was renewable energy. The questions assigned by Mr. Riggler are as follows. Describe how power is produced from the five types of renewable energy. Which renewable energy source did the United States pursue the most? That's the first question. That's the one I'll be answering first. The five types of renewable energy that I found were hydroelectric, solar power, wind energy, geothermal power, and tidal power. Tidal power and hydroelectric power are kind of similar, but they're completely different on how they work. Both use water, and I'll explain them separately here in a moment. So hydroelectric power is power collected by running water that turns a turbine, usually through dams. But in the old days, they used like big water wheels that would generate power in the same way. Turning a turbine, which cranks a shaft that is connected to a motor, turns over the motor without any gas or anything like that, producing electricity that gets sent out, on the grid or whatever it needs to be. Solar power is using the sun's energy by collecting the sun's rays through photovoltaic panels that turn the sun's energy and the sun's rays that it's collecting into usable current, usually AC current, that is again can be sent out on the grid or used to power other homes or heaters or anything that would use electricity in general. Can be powered using solar panels, and those have definitely come a long way in residential use for sure. They have roof shingles that are literally tiny photovoltaic cells that are pretty much is a small solar panel that goes up on your roof. And if you think about how many shingles go on a roof, it's coming along pretty well for residential use. And as far as use in communities, they're thinking about using solar powered sidewalks and roads. It's just mind blowing how far they're coming with this technology. My third is wind energy. Wind energy, you harness the wind using wind turbines, pretty much a giant spinning thing. Anyway, there's usually 3 or 4 blades or props that catch the wind. When they're blown, they crank a shaft connected to a motor that produces electricity, and then it gets sent out on the grid. Like wind energy, these wind turbines, used in different ways. Farmers have been using them for hundreds of years, probably, as far as a good way to pump water out of the ground when needed. It's simple. If you want, you just stop the blade from the wind. If you don't want any more water, you want more water, you let the blade spin. My fourth one is geothermal power. The use of the Earth's natural heat, and you take water, and the Earth's heat makes the water boil, turns into steam, which rises into through piping and whatever, and is pressurized, and turns the turbine, which turns the shaft, which turns the motor. Motor creates electricity, yada yada yada. It's pretty much the same thing for all of these on how it creates electricity. Tidal energy. This is kind of like hydroelectric, but not. Tidal energy is pretty much these huge poles that are dunked in the ocean with blades on the bottom of them, and the natural occurrence of the ocean's tides and stuff will spin these turbines, or will spin these blades or props that are sunk underwater, and crank the shaft, cranks the motor creates electricity, boom, bam, shebang. And so those are my 5 natural renewable resources that can be used. In my opinion, I believe wind energy should probably be the renewable energy source used the most in the United States. I guess I'm kind of bipartisan just because, I live in Kansas and that's what we do. They're everywhere. But other than they kind of look, weird, I think they produce the most electricity and the most good. So that's my opinion on that. The second question Mr. Riggler had us answer are, what are the thoughts after watching the State of the Climate talk, which was a TED talk he assigned? What specific facts stood out to you as concerns for our environment/climate, and what would you suggest we do about it? So, a couple interesting facts I got from this TED talk. China burns half the world's amount of coal each year. It's a lot of coal. That is a lot of coal. It also explains why Beijing is a smoggy city. It is no bueno. Hard to breathe there. It'd be a cool place to visit if you could see, a couple yards in front of you, but it's whatever. They're working on that, getting better. The guy talking in the TED Talk is from London. He said back in 1965, he remembers when London was super smoggy, and in a matter of 5 years, regulating coal and other fossil fuel consumption, that they drastically reduced fog or smog in London itself, and London is no longer smoggy, so that's cool. He said we need to move to a low carbon economy, which is kind of hard to explain, and I probably am not going to explain the best. It involves switching from using mostly fossil fuels to using a lot of more renewable resources to boost our economy, and that. Lean away from coal and lean toward renewable resources. I already kind of said that. I believe we do need to do that. But as far as right now, renewable resources can't produce as much energy as fossil fuel can for us. So in the meantime, while we're honing in on our renewable resources and all that, and getting it to where it is, we are capable of producing as much electricity and power with renewable resources as we do with fossil fuels now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, my opinion, I think we need to kind of stick to fossil fuel while we are honing in on these renewable resources. But trial and error, man. Trial and error. You gotta start leaning towards it to figure out if it's gonna work. So I'm kind of split in half on what we should do. I don't want to hurt the earth anymore or anything like that, but I know renewable resources are very expensive compared to fossil fuel. They're expensive to put up, they're expensive to maintain. So until we get that under control, fossil fuel is going to be the way to go. It's going to be the way to go for a while now, I'm sure. We are starting to wean ourselves off, but, deforestation has gone down by 70% in Brazil over the last 10 years. That was astonishing to me, because when I think of Brazil, I think of their luscious forests. I also think of deforestation. So, the fact that it's gone down 70% in the last 10 years is pretty astonishing. That means they're doing something right down there. They're planting trees and cutting them down. All right. And the third question he told us to answer was, describe the 2 recent articles from the Wall Street Journal related to our chapter topic. Okay, so I found 2 Wall Street journals. One is about Africa and how they need to start using their natural gas supply that they have. I guess natural gas takes forever to renew, so it's not really renewable, but Africa is still an up and coming country. They have the fossil fuel resources beneath them. They just can't access them. And this is to power, over half the country, over half the continent, because Africa has several countries in it, and most of these countries don't have access to electricity necessarily, and if they do, it's not very stable. As it said in this article, I think it says a majority of sub-Saharan Africa countries have per capita electricity consumption of only a few hundred kilowatts per kilowatt hours per year. That, my friends, is very, very low. Not good at all. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do with that electricity. So the fact that they're living like that is kind of astonishing. And it says, and then it goes on to say that the United Nations Human Development Index is 4,000 kilowatt hours per person per year. And that's the difference between a developing country and a developed country. So Africa is not even close to being developed. Still technically a third world country to a lot of places. South Africa is maybe the only exception in that whole continent where they even have like a shot of being considered, a second or first world, country. As a continent in whole, they're not even close. So that was my first article. It's about how they started using natural gas and harnessing all the actual resources they have at their disposal. And then my next article is how this business owner in New York, Westchester, I believe, Westchester, New York, I think is how you pronounce that. I thought it was in London at first. Yeah, Westchester. This businessman, he owns a plastics factory. They make like plastic bags and other type of plastic materials, like to wrap up food and stuff, and like just like wrappers for like cookies or little Debbie donuts. I don't know. But he said the article was talking about how this business owner has reduced the cost of owning a business in Westchester over the last 20 years. He's reduced his costs and actually made money, made more money than he spent, based off of he's been weaning himself off of natural gas in Westchester for 20 years. He started using solar panels and stuff 20 years ago, way before it was even cool. He was the pioneer, I guess, for New York. And in Westchester, there's a natural gas pipeline that everybody taps into, and the natural gas company that owns this pipeline is saying, nah, we are not letting anybody tap into this pipeline anymore. We're already spreading it too thin, blah, 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 blah. And then the mayor doesn't want to put a new natural gas pipeline in. So literally you cannot have new construction or anything, or businesses can't move into Westchester, or they don't want to move into Westchester. They don't want to start construction there because you're not going to be able to tap into natural gas. So that's a dilemma over in Westchester, but this businessman has found a way to cope, and he saw this coming, I guess, and he is doing very, very well for himself and his company just because he switched to solar panels and more renewable resource based energy 20 years ago before it was cool. So those are my Wall Street Journal articles, and this is my video board over Chapter 8, Renewable Energy for Tech and Society. I'm Sam Witte. I'm signing out. Thanks.